J.P. Morgan Chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon, in an exclusive interview with me yesterday, told me he is investing in national security industries and that the economy in America looks good in 26. You've launched a $1.5 trillion security and resiliency initiative to boost critical industries. Tell me a little about what your objective is here and what industries you deem as most important for the U.S. economy that you'd like to invest in.
Right. So, it's become pretty obvious, particularly since the invasion of Ukraine, that national security is critical, not just for us, but for a lot of countries. And if you had any illusion that the world was going to be peaceful for the rest of our lives, hopefully it was shattered. And, at that point, people realized, I heard from military officers, I heard from companies, we didn't have enough production capability to make the bombs that we needed to ship. We had rare earths. You've already heard about the rare earth problem. We rely on China. And it's not just about China, but we rely on single parties for things we need for F-35s and nuclear submarines. And we rely on China for something like 90% of the ingredients go into our pharmaceuticals and 90% of our penicillin. And again, it's not all about China. It's about the United States needs to have security and resiliency about things for security that we can rely on. This year we said, what can J.P. Morgan do? So it's literally, and we broke it out into 27 very detailed categories. So it's rare earths, of which there are many, by the way. It's lithium. It's the medical ingredients. It's drones, it's satellites, it's cyber. It's even education in some cases about what we need to do to get the workforce. In some cases, just having the backup resiliency.
I know that you announced the investment in Perpetua as well. And Jamie, these are really potentially big investment ideas because I think last week, President Trump was saying that ever since the government invested in some of these companies like Intel and Mountain Pass, they've already made tens of billions of dollars. In fact, I believe it was your firm was among those firms that actually brought Mountain Pass together with the White House. The White House takes a stake in Mountain Pass, which, of course, is one of the few companies that are able to do the processing and refinement of the rare earth minerals. If you had this program in place then, would you have actually invested alongside government and taken a stake into Mountain Pass, for example?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought they did the right thing because one of the problems with the rare earths is we have rare earths, but they got to be extracted, concentrated, produced, and turned into magnets. And that's a long process. And I should have mentioned some of the stuff you need to do is it's not even just the investment. It's the analysis, the research, and changing policy. Like we need to change policy on education and policy around permitting and some EPA policies to allow some of these companies to do this. But absolutely, I thought the government did the right thing in Mountain Pass. They gave them a kind of a longer-term contract with a set price to give them time to do all those things. And one of the things that happens with some of these companies is the price gets, you have a competitor come in, the price gets cut and they're going to fail. So we need to find ways to stop that from happening, to give the company a chance to, to build some economies of scale and compete.
I want to get your take on how you're managing things, of course, as one of the most important banks in the world, J.P. Morgan, certainly in America. How do you manage the China threat? Now that we know clearly it is an adversary, you've seen the China Select Committee try to stop you and other Wall Street banks from taking companies that are tied to the People's Republic of China, stop them from going public. You've had consistent cyber breaches, surveillance of the United States, exploiting the visa processes, stealing intellectual property. Tell us how you manage that. You see all of this bad behavior, and yet it's still a customer. You're doing business in China. It's lawful.
Yeah. So, I give you credit for you raised this issue a long time ago and, put some focus on it. But you got to step back and look at the big picture and put it in context. America has the best position in the world. The American public should understand our GDP per person is $80,000. China's is $15,000. We have peace with our neighbors. Not that we don't have some problems. We have peace with our neighbors. They live in a very tough area. Most of the people around them are rearming because of the actions they're taking. They've done an unbelievable job in certain technologies. So they've caught up in certain technologies. But we still have the most prosperous economy nation in the world. They have terrible demographics. They've had some mismanagement of their economy. The notion that come out, we're way behind. Now go to the specifics. Foreign policy of the United States is set by the United States government, not by J.P. Morgan Chase. And there are a lot of things we can't do because of the government. I don't want to do it when they tell us not to do it. And when they tell us we don't do it, some of these things that get raised are very specific things where, we think the person raising the issue is generally wrong. I mean, you may love congressmen, but I can't have every congressman decide who we do business with. And so if we thought that a company we were doing was doing inappropriate stuff, or we were told by the United States government that it was doing inappropriate stuff, we wouldn't do it. Now, if you look at what we're doing in China, we bank, I think, 3,000 multinationals in China. So these are a lot of companies, some of whom are going to be here, and so we kind of have clients, there's network of clients. We try to be very careful, but, we're not going to violate American national security policy. And like I said, there are things we will not do there, and there are things we do. There's some specific things raised that we just don't agree with. And if someone showed us it was wrong, we would change our mind.
Would you walk away from a deal, from an IPO, if you felt that that company was assisting the People's Liberation Army?
Would we walk away from a deal? Absolutely. We don't have to chase any deal or any client, something like that. But then you have to define assisting. Is that food, sneakers, or is it military equipment? So if it's assisting military equipment, absolutely. And presumably that would be on the sanction list of the United States government. If it's something that's kind of innocuous, no, we're not going to walk away from that company. If the United States government decided that we should, then we would. I'm not afraid of China. I think what we need to do is make sure we're secure. Maintain the strongest military in the world is the best deterrent. You've heard the quotes, maintaining an army is expensive, fighting a war is even more expensive, and losing a war is the most expensive. So deterrence, deterrence, deterrence.
I want to get your take on what your sense is of the 2026 economy. What is your sense of the broader macro story for the year ahead, Jamie?
In the short run, it looks like the American consumer is doing fine, is chugging along, companies are making profits, stock markets are high, and that could easily continue. There are a little small negatives, like jobs are weakening, but just a little bit. Inflation is there and maybe not going down. In the long run, there are much more important things. The geopolitical situation, these huge deficits that we have, that other countries have, which may be quite inflationary, those things are probably more important, and we don't know the effect they're going to have in 26, 27, or 28. But I wouldn't take them off of thinking about it. And inflation and deficits being a big one.
Yeah, sure. But, Jamie, we're just coming off of the longest shutdown in history. And, of course, the Securities and Exchange Commission was shut down. I wonder what kind of an impact that had on IPOs, on capital markets businesses for you. And now that we're back open, would you expect those deals to spill into the new year? Will we see a big, business boost because of the things that weren't able to get done in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. So, first of all, I just want to say the shutdowns are stupid. They damage America. They shouldn't happen. And we got to figure a way not to have these things happen. You can blame Democrats or Republicans. Their intramurals are damaging 300 million Americans. And I think that's just dead wrong for any reason. But yeah, so what did it do with IPOs? Well, IPOs basically stopped for, 30 days or whatever it was. But the markets are wide open. The IPO backlog is huge. The debt backlog is huge. The M&A backlog is huge. Yes, they're all going to come, but I'll give you a proviso. Pipelines are like accordions. They open and close. So whenever people ask us, the investor community asks us, what's the pipeline? I say, we'll tell you the pipeline, but don't assume that it closes. If the markets get south, if we go into recession, those things can close pretty quickly. I've
got to ask you about the special counsel, the former special counsel, Jack Smith, and that Arctic frost investigation, Jamie, because we had Devin Nunes on this program, former chairman of the Intelligence Committee, who said your bank was subpoenaed to give his bank records up, and he was upset about it. Here's what he said on this program just a few weeks ago. Watch this.
When the Arctic frost went after our bank records at Trump Media, that's inexplicable because we didn't exist. So what reason did they have to go after us? And I've seen Jamie Dimon and others at JP Morgan say this over and over again, that they don't debank people for political reasons. Well, then why the hell did you debank Trump Media?
Jamie, what do you want to say about that? Did you send over the bank records of Devin Nunes or Trump supporters to the special counsel when he wanted that information?
People have to grow up here, okay, and stop making up things and stuff like that. So, and I can't talk about an individual account. We do not debank people's religious or political affiliations. We do debank them. They have religious and political affiliation. We debank people who are Democrats. We debank people who are Republicans. We've debanked different religious folks. Never was that for that reason. And that's number one. Number two is I don't like debanking people. We live under very strict rules and regulations and requirements, and to protect the country, and we have to report things to the government. We're required to report things to the government. I can't even tell you when we do it, because I'm not going to tell you that either. And so I want to change these rules. I actually applaud the Trump administration, who's trying to say the debanking's bad and we should change the rules. Well, damn it, I've been asking to change the rules now for 15 years. So change the rules. And, and that's why a lot of this stuff takes place. It is really customer unfriendly. And, we're debanking people because of suspected things or negative media or all these various things. So, and the last thing, which is really important, we don't give information to the government just because they ask. We're subpoenaed. We are required by court to give it to the government. And I've been following subpoenas with this administration, the last administration, the administration before that, and the one before that. And I don't agree with a lot of the government does a lot of things that get angry at banks. So let's just take a deep breath and fix the problems as opposed to blame someone who's put in that position. So and we've been quite clear about this. We've given recommendations to the government how they can fix it, how we can change the rules and regulations to dramatically reduce reporting and debanking and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, someone who's covered,
I can make a point right now. I can make a point right now. I don't have to debank anyone. I would tell the government if we see something that might possibly be bad, we'll report it to you and you decide. Why do we have to decide?
Right.
And that's the position we're put in.
I mean, as someone who's covered global business for so many years and now covers politics as well as policy so closely, I have a problem with, the special counsel taking advantage of corporate America to use corporate America to do their dirty work. Because it wasn't just the banks. It was also the telecom companies. Don't forget, they sent subpoenas to Verizon and AT&T to get phone records of Trump supporters. I mean, a political witch hunt. So that's why I think our viewers, want to understand how this happens.
Yeah, well, that is not me. That's your courts and government and stuff like that. But the government, Democratic and Republican governments have come after us both. So let's not act like this is just one side doing this. This has been going on for a long time, and we should stop, militarizing the government that kind of way.